City Council meeting of July 10th, 2017 to order. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please let the record note that all council members are present this evening except for Councilman von Lossberg and Councilwomen Bentley and Swaney. We have minutes of the meeting of June 26th. Without objection, they'll be approved. All right, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Hans.
Good evening. All of our committee meetings will be here on Wednesday, July 12th. We'll start out with Public Works from 9:20 a.m. to 10:05 a.m., followed by a Budget Committee of the Whole from 10:10 a.m. to 11:10 a.m., then Committee of the Whole from 11:15 a.m. to 11:45 a.m., Land Use and Planning from 12:45 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., Administration and Finance from 2:35 p.m. to 3:10 p.m., and a second Budget Committee of the Whole meeting from 3:15 p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m.
Any changes to that committee schedule? Seeing none, we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening.
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper. There was on June 30th, there was an article in the Missoulian, bottom left, growth breaks records. And that was the Friday before the holiday weekend, which is apropos. In which the mayor decries not getting more than enough to just cover services. It gives scant details and blames the recession of 08 and 09 for needed tax increase of 3.87 because it hit Montana late. The state has given Missoula $2 million over the last 3 years, and commercial buildings, apartments, and condos don't bring in much money to the city tax base. I want to read a quote from the mayor. "We can be growing all day long, and that centrally assessed value can turn us upside down just like that overnight." Saturday, July 1st, carried a story about the Merck and how with taxpayer money, the developers are going to get Missoulians to pay for the preservation of the pharmacy, asbestos removal that should have been done by the previous owner, and an additional 27 rooms, which should have killed the deal because citizens weren't informed. On top of that, we get to pay for deconstruction, demolition to the tune of $3,597,844 in TIF dollars paid to home base. With the mayor's dismal outlook in the prior article, where is it coming from? You and me. It is our money, all of it. And the trade-off, $325,000 in annual taxes. I need to have someone tell me how the taxpayers are able to pay for projects. Oh, and I learned from Greg Sandberg's letter to the editor, we also popped for the Stockman's Bank $1.5 million. They have $3 billion in assets. Where is this money coming from? by bonding Missoulians way into the future on our grandchildren's backs. May I say you are paid out of our pockets, every one of you, which you all forget. And you have no right to bankrupt we, the taxpayers. It's past time for a comprehensive annual financial report to be done out of the state of Montana, so we have a fair one done.
Any other general public comment? And for the record, Ms. Bentley is here.
Good evening. My name's Marcy Hammond. I live at, well, it's an RV at the corner of 1900 Strand and Grant. And it's the address that last 2 weeks ago, Kayleen Kuntz talked about twice. Because Monday last, you repeated everything. You let her slander the address where I live, the address where my family lives. You let her slander my boyfriend's name. It has come to my attention, has disrespected myself and my family. She talked about how our moment of residence is as an rat infestation. And I think the health department would be at our house if that was correct. She says John is a bully. The name at hand is John Ulrich, and I'm sure every one of you is aware of the name I'm talking about, you especially. And I am going to be talking to you directly. She is the bully. She has been stalking our family for 4 years. She has threatened my family. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Ulrich, and you have gone along. Let me go back. Mr. Mayor John Ulrich, the man who was defamed and slandered, you have known him for 30 plus years. You went to school with him. I believe you have a vendetta against John. I have seen how you have turned your back on us as John and I. No help at all in 2006. When will this end? You sent a letter to our residents, an actual letter, one of 3 residents I used to own. Now I live in an RV that you are trying to remove from the Missoula County. Yes, the council of the 9th Circuit Court says it's illegal for you, Mr. Mayor, and your Blue Klux Klan. You want us kicked to the curb. I'm paying more in taxes and in debt to my bills than a normal taxpayer. The more I try to climb the ladder of success, the more I'm being kicked to the curb by the law enforcement. The mayor was asked to help to put the police procedure manual back in 2006, way before it's been on the computer. $250, you told me, and John, if we wanted it, so that we can talk about all the people that are doing us wrong. You listened to Kayleen for approximately 9+ minutes and talked about how she's scared. She continually races past our house and she's with her child in her truck. She's scared of us. She continually races past our house, zoom, with her child that she's afraid of, past a daycare. So basically, she wants John in a cage, just so, hey, let's poke him. Let's poke the guy in the cage. Kayleen talked as she was for the Democratic office, the president and the captain. And they are for you, Mr. Mayor. They want you. You want to be reelected. And what did you tell her to do? Come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. She has yet to get that restraining order on us. And yet I have another restraining order on my guy, John, because another person is after him. We have not done anything. We have stayed at our house. We have not gone anywhere. Do not poke anyone other than on Facebook. And I even talked to John about not doing that. It doesn't matter, because you guys, when John, when Kayleen came by our house, she didn't talk about how she and her husband went and demolished our mailbox. And that's a federal offense, $300 of cameras that we have on our house to protect us because of the lack of police procedures and lack of police help. Because every time we've asked for the help, they don't want to come around, because we want to videotape them so that they know that when they're in front of us, if they say a lie or they go, duh, 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 we're going to have it. And we'll be like, oh, no, 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 you said this then, and you say this now. So they don't want to come to us and talk to us directly. So the only communication we have for you guys is verbal through Facebook. And you guys know it. We have evidence of a man who physically attacked me, and you guys did nothing against, because I was, the scar I have was, as Officer J.C. Denton said, there was no scar, no physical injuries. Yet, I think you guys remember I had a big old purple shiner on my face, and this guy has a restraining order against us again. And we have done nothing wrong. I have so much more things I want to talk about. I'm so flustered. You will be hearing more from me. Thank you. Have a good night.
Any other general public comment this evening?
Any other general comments? Do you want to talk in general?
Well,
Yeah.
I was at the fairgrounds this weekend.
So, sir, come to the microphone, please, and tell us who you are for the record.
Sorry. It's my first time in one of these. My name's Cassidy Wood, and I own Hog Heaven Espresso out in Harley-Davidson parking lot. And I have a mobile unit. And after we set up at the fairgrounds this weekend, and I'm new to a lot of this. I just got my mobile unit licensed. But the health department came in, was messing with checking everybody. And one of the councilmen heard about it and come talk about the grief that I was given, and come and talk to me and said I should be here, but I'm not sure if he's here, or a guy that's running for council anyway, said I should come down and talk about it. So there was me and another vendor that really got hassled with, because I'm not a vendor, I'm a mobile unit. And so since I sell hot dogs and hot sandwiches, and I do Italian soda and espressos off this mobile unit. Well, since I put that Italian soda on a table so that it wasn't crammed onto my cart, because I had a canopy and I was at the fairgrounds, I was told I needed to pay another $200 vendor fee on top of my already paid state license, health license. And I've been dealing with these guys for 9 months. And the health lady said I was being unreasonable, and I said, please let me make $1 before you charge me another $100. I've given $900. I've never been in business long enough to pay taxes. I have hardly any food left on my shelves to sell, because I'm continuously strangled by the county and the city to make a buck at what I've been struggling for 9 months. Everybody was so happy that I bought that, and I took those lingerie girls out. They didn't like them. But now you got to put something back for that blue-collar worker out there. So I've tried to add food. I'm doing hot dogs, cold cuts, sliced meats, reheated, pre-cooked foods. They want a grease interceptor now. I was left on the fence for 2 weeks by the sewer department because their 4-person committee couldn't break the tie. 2 people felt I should have that grease interceptor. One gentleman's response was, why, is everybody else has one. So you need to pay the $165 for the variance. And now, I've been building houses my whole life, but I need to go hire a commercial plumber to put in $15 with a PVC pipe to make this thing drain hot dog water and separate the grease to drop into a trap. Another $500 that I got to come up with somewhere, and still try to come up with money to sell coffee and keep my business from falling under.
Okay. Sir, what's the name of your business?
Hog Heaven Espresso.
Thank you. So I will have Jessica Miller in my office give you a call tomorrow, and we'll follow up with you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There he is.
Any other general public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
I'm here to bring this council up to date and make them aware of a serious legal issue that is about to be brought forth against the city. I have with me,
You go ahead and tell us your name for the record and stay near the microphone, please, sir.
my name is Robert Lagervall. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. For those of you who don't, here's a packet that includes all of the accommodations which I'm entitled to by law, in which the city has continually denied me for the past 5 years. Now, those are my civil rights, and as such, USC Section 18, Chapter 18, Section 241 and 242 prohibit you from denying me my civil rights deliberately. Now, there's absolutely no reason the city has not complied with at least the administrative procedures of the American with Disabilities Act. This town continues to stereotype all people with disabilities as either incompetent, delusional, or criminal. In my case, that couldn't be furthest from the truth. Might have made it easier if they told me I was, but I'm not. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys operate so far from the actual law. You need to research a little more about what's going on. On the 6th of June of this year, I filed my required documents, took my oath of office on the 4th of June. I am the Montana's first United States Private Attorney General. It has already been recognized by the federal courts, and I have a federal decision that states I have the right to argue the merits of the ADA throughout Montana state courts for myself and others. Now, I've been denied that right by your courts. Why? I'm bringing these charges. I've already written a letter to the U.S. Attorney General, who will be working with me on this matter. I didn't bring enough copies of that letter for everybody, but if I may,
Certainly.
bring this forward. There's a packet with the letter complete, and then here's some extra copies of the letter. The letter's 2 pages.
Thank you.
I would invite that you read this over. This is something that case law has determined you must be proactive about, and you are subject to it. So, to avoid serious financial loss to the city in claims and criminal actions, possibly arrests, I would suggest you take this matter seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other general public comment this evening? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Items on that agenda were approved unanimously in City Council standing committees, and we save a little time on Mondays by considering those items all at once. Ms. Hands will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so those in the audience and those at home watching will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment on those items before we vote. Ms. Hands.
Right, there are 12 items on the consent agenda this evening. Number 1 is to ratify claims, which are accounts payable in the amount of $528,278.48 for checks dated July 4th, 2017. Number 2 is to ratify claims, which are also our accounts payable related to the water acquisition in the amount of $928,013.10 for checks dated July 4th, 2017. Number 3 is to approve claims, which are accounts payable in the amount of $495,522.59 for checks dated July 11th, 2017. Item number 4 is to approve claims, accounts payable related to the water acquisition in the amount of $10,941.91 for checks dated July 11th, 2017. Number 5, adopt a resolution vacating the westerly 5 feet of the northerly 118 feet of the public road easement across a portion of Lot 5, Block 3 of Cook's Addition, and the public road easement across portions of Lots 5 through 8, Block 2 of Cook's Addition, as shown in Exhibit 2, subject to one condition of approval. Number 6, Direct Development Services staff to distribute draft amendments to Title 20, Sections 20.75 signs and 20.100 terminology for comment, conduct a planning board public hearing, and then return to City Council for final consideration. Number 7, approve the contract with Knife River Corporation for excavation and earth moving services that will be provided on an on-call basis for emergency water line repairs per the attached rate schedule. Number 8, approve the contract with Poteet Construction for traffic control services that will be provided on an on-call basis for emergency water line repairs per the attached rate schedule. Number 9, this is first reading and preliminary adoption to set a public hearing on August 7th, 2017 on an ordinance amending Chapter 12.44 Missoula Municipal Code entitled Cemeteries, changing the name of the chapter to Missoula City Cemetery, changing the name of Article 1 from Cemetery to Missoula City Cemetery General Provisions, changing the name of Article 2 from Cemetery Board of Trustees to Missoula City Cemetery Board of Trustees, changing the name of Article 3 from Cemetery Director to Missoula City Cemetery Director, proposing new cemetery services, reinstating past cemetery services, and generally amending the chapter to update language as well as the laws and rules governing Missoula City Cemetery. The second motion for this item is to set a public hearing on August 7th, 2017 on a resolution generally amending Missoula City Cemetery fees by adding new public service fees, setting fees for the reinstatement of past public services, and generally amending current fees as proposed by Missoula City Cemetery and Missoula City Cemetery Board of Trustees. Item number 10, appoint Joeline Brink to the Historic Preservation Commission for the at-large term beginning immediately and ending on December 31st, 2019. Item number 11, set a public hearing on July 24th, 2017 on the following resolutions increasing fees by 2.75%. The first is a resolution increasing the wastewater industrial and scepter variance permit fee set forth in 13.07.410 Missoula Municipal Code and the waste hauler permit fee set forth in 13.17.210 Missoula Municipal Code by 2.75% beginning January 1st, 2018. And the second resolution, a resolution increasing fees for the following services by 2.75%, including review and processing of land use applications pursuant to city-adopted regulations pertaining to zoning, subdivision, and floodplain services, business licensing, hazardous vegetation removal, and engineering fees and permits related to work and use of city public right-of-way, and third resolution, a resolution increasing fire inspection and plan checking fees and fireworks and professional display permits by 2.75% effective January 1st, 2018. And the last resolution is a resolution increasing the special events permits set forth in 12.58.035 Missoula Municipal Code by 2.75% beginning January 1st, 2018. And the last motion pertaining to this item is to set a public hearing on July 24th, 2017 to adopt a resolution amending Resolution 7124 and establishing fees for administrative police department services, including fingerprinting services and provision of police reports to the public. The last item of the day is item number 12, and this is a revised item. We're revising the date on the resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula, Montana, a certain parcel of land described as Parcel A of Certificate of Survey number 6568, accepting the portion of the parcel along the southerly border of Parcel A, encompassing the public road right-of-way that was annexed as part of Resolution 6818, and to zone Parcel A of Certificate Survey number 6568 to OP3 in the city, all located in Section 11, Township 12 North, Range 20 West, Principal Meridian, Montana, and change the public hearing date, setting it for July 24th, 2017.
Thank you, Ms. Hams. Questions or comments from council members? Mr. Reyes?
Thanks. I'd like to move item 5 to the committee report so that we can take it up after the public hearing about the other Reserve Street right-of-way issues.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Without objection, we'll do that. Mr. DeBari?
I had a question on the resolution regarding the fiscal year 2018 budget. For one of the resolutions, the second one doesn't have a date and the other ones do. Is it intended that that's supposed to go into effect on January 1st of 2018 as well? Or we can just find out the answer later.
I believe it is, but I will double check and find that out for you and send you an email.
Great. I just didn't want it to be an oversight.
Other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience care to comment on any of the items on the consent agenda this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on items 1 through 4 and 6 through 12.
On the consent agenda, Armstrong. Yes. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley. Yes. Bentley votes yes. Cares. Yes. Cares votes yes. Dabari. Yes. Dabari votes yes. Hedall. Yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess. Yes. Hess votes yes. Jones. Yes. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Yes. Marlar votes yes. Ruth is not here. Brian is not here. West. Yes. West votes yes. And Wilkins. Yes. Wilkins votes yes. That is 10 ayes.
And the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and the community forum. I'm unaware of any of those this evening. So we'll slide into public hearings. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting comment, pardon me, in a formal way on a variety of issues, and following a staff report on each of those, council and I will invite community comment. Council typically votes on the same evening as the public hearing unless one council member elects to return that item to committee for further discussion. And our first public hearing is on a petition to vacate a portion of River Street. And our staff report this evening comes from Mr. Slovart.
Well, filling in for Drew Larson, I'm Kevin Slovarp. I'm the city engineer with Development Services. I have a PowerPoint presentation to show you on the screen. Between Mary McCrae and myself, we did not bring that with us, so Mary ran back to the office to get that presentation. So if I could have a few more minutes for Mary to get back with that, or is there anything else we can do in the meantime?
Who was filling in for Drew on the rezoning?
I believe that was Mary.
Okay. Well, why don't we take a little breather here for a moment? Or actually, without objection, we could, no, we can't. Let's just hang tough for a minute, why don't we? Yeah, everyone, deep breaths. It seems like a good night for deep breathing.
Sorry about this. As for the little glitch there. Tonight is a request from Jeffrey T. and Patricia Johnson, owner of JJ's Used Cars located at 100 Russell Street, to vacate a portion of River Street. I will also be presenting a correction resolution for a right-of-way vacation that is adjacent to tonight's request. And so this is an existing condition slide. Boy, we can't really see that real well. I don't know how you get that to stand out a little bit more. Is there something I can do to bring that up better?
Excuse me.
That's the technology.
I adjusted it as much
us.
as it'll be adjusted.
Okay.
There's just a glitch with the machinery. I'll have to have IT take a look at it tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Well, I apologize if you really can't kind of pick this out. I'll use the mouse to help us a little bit. So the existing conditions, the subject property is basically here adjacent to Russell Street. Russell Street is on the bottom of the slide. In the left, to the left is north. So the property consists of platted lots as well as previous right-of-way vacations. There's been a couple right-of-way vacations for the River Road area, River Street right-of-way, public right-of-way. In addition, the property is adjacent to a public road easement called what we're calling Prince Street, or at least what we call Prince Street on Google Maps. And that runs here basically north to south on the east side of the property. Prince Street also runs east-west. Here it's labeled as an alley in this exhibit, but Prince Street also runs east-west. The easement, if you can tell, is depicted in light orange and purple. So this is the light orange here that's on the north, kind of the north end of the property, and the purple is on the south side of the subject property. The road easement has been in place since 1965 and was used to access Dakota and River Streets when the Russell Street was used to travel below the Milwaukee Railroad line. I wasn't around for that. I do remember it though. If you recall, Russell Street used to go underneath the railroad. Next slide. This shows up a little bit better. The applicants have requested the right-of-way vacation in order to accommodate the loss of 8 feet of frontage along the Russell Street right-of-way for the Russell Street roadway reconstruction project. And they've worked with MDT on that right-of-way vacation, and the right-of-way vacation kind of stems from whether the additional right-of-way, the proposed right-of-way vacation is approved tonight. And you can see in the dark gray here, adjacent to Russell Street, is that proposed Russell Street right-of-way acquisition area. So then showing in red here, in the middle of the page is the triangle-shaped portion of proposed right-of-way vacation. One of the things that I'll ask you to consider for tonight approving, and that is 150 square feet of right-of-way, so it's not a real big piece of land, and that's part of River Street there. Staff evaluated the requested River Street vacation, and it was discovered that a previous vacation description adjacent to this particular request was incorrect. So we want to clear that up with this resolution, or with a new resolution also. So that's the second part of what we're doing tonight. And the previous vacation that was incorrect is now shown correct. Here it's in blue, so it's this trapezoidal shaped piece of land. So we'd correct that also at this time. And then, so staff has prepared the correction resolution and has the correct legal description that was originally intended to be closed per resolution number 4374 that was adopted in 1984. So next slide is an exhibit that will be attached to the correction resolution depicting the correct right-of-way once the correction is made. And then this next slide shows the exhibit, a portion of the exhibit that will be attached to the resolution to vacate. So you see there that this is the triangle shaped piece. Now we're not looking in the same direction. North is up now, but it's the same triangle and same 150 square feet. And then we do have a condition that we'd like to include with the vacation. And that condition is that the applicant shall record any and all necessary public utility easements within 60 days of adoption of the ordinance to close and vacate a portion of River Street, subject to review and approval of development services. And then finally, I have the two recommended motions. The first one is to adopt a resolution to close and vacate a portion of River Street, being that 150 square feet. And then second, to adopt a resolution correcting resolution number 4374, vacating a portion of River Street. So That's what I have as far as a presentation. I also have a little bit of material on what used to be number 5 on your consent agenda, vacating a public road easement through the same area. I can talk a little bit about that if you want to get into it, but maybe start with the vacation. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and there's some folks from MDT here that have been part of this process too, that if you have any questions for them, they can likely help out too.
Thank you, Mr. Slovart. And with that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone care to comment on these proposed vacations? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Mr. Wilkins?
So included is the approve or deny the waive the fee?
I believe we denied to waive the fee.
We
you
denied it?
I said we, but I'm part
In
of
committee,
this.
we denied it, huh?
You denied it. Somebody denied it. All of you denied it.
All right, we all denied it. All right, thanks.
Other questions? All right, Mr. Hess.
Thank you. 2 motions here. First, I move we adopt a resolution to close and vacate public right-of-way being a portion of River Street lying between blocks 2 and 3 of Cook's Addition, a recorded subdivision of Missoula County, Montana, located in the southwest quarter of Section 21, Township 13 North, Range 19 West, Principal Meridian, Montana, as described and shown in Exhibit 2. And secondly, that we adopt a resolution correcting Resolution 4374, vacating a portion of River Street and a portion of River Street lying between, excuse me, there's a typo here, vacating a portion of River Street lying between blocks 2 and 3 of Cook's Addition, a recorded subdivision in Missoula County, Montana, located in the same section as described previously, and described and shown in Exhibit 2.
And those motions are in order. On the motions, Ms. Bentley.
I'm going to support this motion. The Russell Street project is very, very important, and part of the right-of-way negotiations for that is we're working on them right now, and this property owner has been very cooperative, and I want to see the project come to fruition, and it's already been delayed much longer based on these right-of-way negotiations, and so we're one step closer to getting the project complete, so I hope you'll join me in supporting the motions.
Further discussion? Mr. Wilkins.
I'll also support it for the same reason. He is giving up a lot. That frontage was where all his cars were, and where everybody, you went down Russell, you saw the car you wanted, you went in and did it. That's what I did with my daughter anyway, from him, and was happy. So, you know, he deserves to have this right away.
Further discussion? Mr. DeVary? Ms. Marler?
I just wanted to add my thanks to the other thanks already expressed to the property owner for working with us on this. That's pretty important.
Further discussion? Seeing none, well, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote on the resolutions.
Roll call vote on both of the resolutions. Karas? Yes. Karas votes yes. DeBari? Yes. DeBari votes yes. Hedall? Yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess? Yes. Hess votes yes. Jones? Yes. Jones votes yes. Marler? Yes. Marler votes yes. West? Yes. West votes yes. Wilkins? Yes. Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong? Yes. Armstrong votes yes. And Bentley? Yes. Bentley votes yes. That is 10 ayes.
And the resolutions are approved. Our second public hearing this evening is on a rezoning at 1801 Wyoming. You have had a presentation on that previously. Ms. McCrae, anything we need to add to the, all right. So again, this is proposed rezoning, adding units at the address at 1801 Wyoming, and I will open the public hearing if anyone would care to comment.
Public comment?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I'm so sorry. No, that's fine. Is that okay? Good to see you. Sorry. Good start to this. Okay. Well,
I'll read my comment. Once more, it has old and new material. New material is more at the end. I think it's the best way to bring my information across, maybe add some personal thoughts as well. Also, I have another statement from Jesse from our neighborhood council. But first of all, I'm Kim Walterskirchen. Do I have to spell it again?
We got it.
Okay, KIMWALTERSKIRCHEN. It's a long one. Yeah, I want to also say before I start that there was some unfortunate language I used last time with the word ghetto, and I take this word back. It has wrong connotations. I say I want to use monoculture, and I didn't mean slum. I want to make very clear that I find Wolf Glen is a very well-kept apartment unit. That's very important for me to say. Okay. Dear members of the City Council, my name is Kim Walterskirchen. I live at 115 South Garfield Street in close proximity to the Wolf Glen Apartments. I'm a member of the River Road Neighborhood Leadership Team, but this comment reflects my own personal view. Here I would like to add Jesse Neidig's statement that he sent to me today. After further consideration and review of the request, I retract any support I have made in the past about this and other rezone requests in our neighborhood that are solely for the purpose of increasing capacity of what I view as an already overloaded public infrastructure. I, Jesse Neidig, as one of the leadership team, but moreover as a resident, am concerned about the lack of public infrastructure and services to support the already increased population in our neighborhood. I feel we lack public transportation, through streets, sidewalks, and lighting, in addition to hosting overcrowded parking. I also feel our neighborhood isn't yet at an adequate mix of services to the population, the adequate ratio of services to population. Parks, restaurants, stores, medical facilities, or social spaces such as coffee shops, libraries, taverns, bakeries are all missing. Some of this is supported in the survey results from Missoula Invest Health Neighborhood Survey done last fall from Jesse Neidig. I'm very much in favor of infill development, but I oppose the proposed zoning change of the Wolf Glen property for the following reasons. The 17 additional units the owners plan to build will severely degrade the quality of life for the current residents of the existing 46 apartments by eliminating the only usable green space of this development. This green space represents roughly 18% of the entire property, and because the 46 existing apartments have no balconies or patios, this area must remain as outdoor activity area for the current residents. Yes, this space is underutilized, but the owners could set up a playground, barbecue areas, and make it generally accessible for the tenants. The elimination of this green space would be out of character with our neighborhood, where large multifamily developments leave generous green spaces for their residents, like Council Groves, the Wyoming townhouses, and the new development of El Sapida at the end of Trail Street. The area west of Catlin is also a vibrant mix of multifamily and single-family homes, of workshop and warehouses. At the current density of 16 units per acre, multifamily and single-family homes can coexist, but the densities over that multifamily developments become overwhelming and make single-family developments nearby impossible, especially if other owners of already built multifamily developments follow this example and start to rezone to RM2 as well, and eliminate all leftover green spaces by filling them up with apartment buildings. So this is all a reminder here, and then I'll come to the new stuff. 3-story apartment buildings at a height of 45 feet, which the new zoning would allow, would destroy the balance of multi and single-family units because the multifamily presence would become overbearing. Owners of undeveloped land like myself have to follow suit because a townhouse development would not work anymore in this apartment-only environment. Eventually, the whole area will turn into an apartment monoculture with no green spaces for the residents and with all the social tensions that come with such an amassing of similar apartment types. All neighborhood plans for this area underscore that such apartment monoculture should be avoided. A mix of units and income levels is needed for a diverse urban community to flourish. Mathematical upzoning will furthermore destroy the arts and crafts industry that flourish in our area.
Higher and higher densities will eventually turn warehouses like the Bitterwood Welding Complex into apartment buildings, and all the artists and craftsmen from Zombie Tools, Van Commons, the welders and stonemasons, the yurt builders and butchers who make this area on Wyoming and Johnson so rich and colorful will lose their workspace in our neighborhood, will lose its arts and crafts hub, and with that, one of the most interesting and unique features of our neighborhood. A lot of jobs and the existence of this economic center are at stake as well. Hundreds of apartments are being built in Missoula right now, and huge areas are available for apartment construction, like along Reserve Street, or from Reserve to Scott Street, or along the Brook Street corridor. 17 units here will make not a big difference in the Missoula housing stock, but they can do a lot of damage in our neighborhood. The growth policy's land use map for our area neither represents the will of the people of the River Road neighborhood nor the will of the landowners who live here and who make this a nice area, also for our neighbors in the apartments. I went to the listening sessions of our Missoula in our neighborhood, but nobody asked for higher densities or the elimination of green spaces in big apartment developments. This was also never mentioned as a goal during the 2 extensive surveys in which we, as a leadership team, asked our neighbors what was important to them. All this is well documented. I believe in the social responsibility of property and that all free spaces should be developed, but at a density of 16 units per acre, which lets all life forms coexist peacefully in this neighborhood. The constant push for higher densities in our area, allowing 3-story apartment buildings at a height of 45 feet to go in right next to single-family homes, must be seen as an aggressive attack on the existence of home and landowners who live in this neighborhood. Some owners have been here for many decades and make our area a nice place for all residents. We are being told that we are a waste of space and we don't belong here anymore. This rezone would lead to a significant loss in value of adjacent properties and constitute an inverse condemnation, which could be challenged in court. A piece of land is as valuable as the number of units one can put on it. If one property gets upzoned, it becomes more valuable than the adjacent property, which remains at the current density level. By allowing 40 feet 5 height apartment complexes to rise all around, adjacent property owners are forced to build apartments as well, because townhouse developments will not work anymore in this environment. Being forced away from a townhouse development into an apartment development will result in a significant loss of value. I'm very fortunate to own my father's piece of land, and in the whole scheme of things, I have no reason to complain. That is also true of Mr. and Mrs. Martin, I would think, who already receive income from 46 apartments. Many of our neighbors are much less fortunate and may never enjoy the pleasures of an own backyard. Taking away this green space, this little piece of outdoor luxury, is simply not right, and it makes no sense. It reduces the car rides to nice places if residents have a nice outdoor space at home. Not long ago, a handful of residents of the Rattlesnake cried out because 12 townhomes on 10,000 square foot lots were supposed to build in their neighborhood. I remember well how City Council ran to their rescue. Development Service was put to work and had to rewrite the townhouse regulations. I would ask that you show the same amount of respect and compassion for the residents of my neighborhood. Densities higher than 16 units per acre will also destroy the historic core of our neighborhood. That is documented in the 2003 Infrastructure Plan on Map 3. Along Garfield and 12th Street, sorry.
Pushing 10 minutes, sir.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, I'm here, last passage. Okay. Sorry. There are several historic buildings which form the center of our urban village and which are in danger of being pushed out. The solution for all this is very easy. The city has the right to write a growth policy, but I believe that implementing it is the right way is crucially important for its success. Right now, mindless upzoning pushed by people who don't live in our neighborhood, who don't know it and who don't care about it, or who simply want to make money here, is about to destroy one of the most diverse and unique neighborhoods in Missoula. I ask that you deny all single rezone requests in our area, which only pit neighbor against neighbor, owner against owner, and start a rezoning of the entire area to create an overlay or a zoning district that takes into account and strengthens all that is good and unique about our area, and to make a master plan for implementing all the infrastructure that is missing, but which is a precondition for any increase of density. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Walters-Kirchen. Excuse me, anyone else this evening?
Hello, my name is Paul Chamberlain. Chamberlin. Last time I spoke with you, I emphasized the change in the language I'd heard from the planning process. When we worked hard to achieve the zoning we currently have, I heard a lot about livability, character, diversity, and frankly, I'm all hearing now from progressives, I'm a progressive, is higher density. We need more density. Nobody supporting this proposal has refuted the basic facts that I said out there. I'll say them very briefly again. You've got to duck into a void to let a car pass on both Wyoming and Catlin, and certainly Trail Street where I live. And also, no one refuted that street parking, on-street parking is jammed. This week on PBS, did you see a 60s program or program about the 60s building? High density apartments, urban renewal, huge housing projects that replaced poor but functioning neighborhoods. They were real communities, and then there were unforeseen consequences leading to the drugs and violence that we're seeing today. Today, hundreds of millions of new dollars are again being spent, but this time, it's fascinating, they're focusing in their design criteria on community. They're looking at gardens, they're looking at a much broader picture. And it's my job as a senior member in my community to try to show some wisdom and say, let's think twice before we jump into this higher density. When our neighborhood was last threatened with high density rezoning, I spoke of community and strength and livability and character and diversity. Some of you might remember a 2-pager I put in talking about the relationships with Kim's dad, my neighbors, some of which are dead now. New people are involved, and it's a real strong thing. I believe in it. My neighborhood, I care a lot about my neighborhood, and I have to be clear with you that I have chosen livability, character, and diversity over, say, a possible increase in value, because I plan on being here for a while. It's a great place. I'm asking you to vote in favor of livability, character, and diversity, and not short-sighted diverse density goals leading to this loss of community. The developers have already told us what amenities are lost at the higher density levels. Kim just reiterated them very well. In the last 6 months, I have lost the view of the mountains that I have enjoyed for the last 35 years, new high-density development. I have lost the view of the oncoming weather. I have lost the sunsets. Traffic has doubled on my street with people with their heads down in their cell phones zipping by, not knowing the neighbors, not caring about the community. The person with very interesting vision that includes community, livability, character, diversity is my enthusiastic neighbor, Kim Walterskerson. And Kim's done the research. You got to hear some of that. I wish he could have talked for 10 more minutes. That shows more diversity, more density leads to more apartments, and if you prefer, a monoculture. And we're resisting that. And by the way, we pointed out each time that we're the only ones that are standing up here to resist this. And then somehow I hear from the council, I hear from the planning board, well, but all those people who didn't show up, because they didn't show up or they didn't write in, that must mean that they're supporting this proposal. And I hate to hear that. I've been hearing it for many years. How can you do that? Particularly in light of the last time we had an upzoning contest in this neighborhood. We packed the room with people who were very much against the upzoning. So please, I care much about strong neighborhoods and community, and I ask you to honor the diverse zoning we've already achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain. Anyone else this evening on the rezoning question? Sir?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. First of all, I'd like to take a moment and thank all of you for your service to this great city of Missoula. I've been a resident here now for 4 years. And I think your planning and stewardship has made for a city that is delightfully diverse and enjoyable to live in. So I just want to thank you for all of that.
And would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Oh, my name is John Gardapi. I work for the Volunteers of America Supportive Services for Veterans and their families. Basically, I house homeless veterans or help them to find housing. And veterans in danger of losing their housing situation, try to help them keep that situation that they're in, or find something new that fits them better. Anyway, I'm here to speak on behalf of the rezoning and on behalf of the expansion of Wolf's Glen, which I think is something that is very needed, especially concerning what I do as a person who seeks housing that is affordable and extremely nice. I've heard people talk, or these gentlemen talk on behalf of the parking issues. That's one of the things I don't think I addressed last time, but I go to Wolf's Glen quite regularly because I have a lot of veterans who live in the apartments, and never once have I had an issue with parking. Their parking lots are always wide and open and lots of space. So I don't see that people in Wolf's Glen will be using the streets for parking areas and clogging up the streets. Secondly, I see that it's always well kept. The Martin's Property Management Company are great stewards of their property, and they care a lot for the people that live within their properties. It's a real family-oriented type property management company, and they look out for the people in their buildings. Having 17 new apartment buildings to house veterans, people who are disabled, is something that's really needed. And as far as green space is concerned, you've got a trail out back that leads just a few blocks away from a lot of green space. And again, I think you guys as a city council, as a mayor, have ensured that there's green space all over Missoula for people to enjoy. I live myself in a duplex. I have duplexes behind me that tower over me. I have duplexes in front of me. I have a little tiny piece of grass in the back, but I'm never home because I use the green spaces all around us, and so do most people. They use the trails, they use the parks, they walk their dogs. There's many enjoyable places to go in Missoula where you can find green space, comfort, where you can barbecue. So I don't think that's a real issue. I think the main issue is that we need places for people to live and to grow their families, places for people to call home who haven't had a home. And I think I spoke to that last time I was up here. So I understand these gentlemen's issues and their desires to keep their neighborhood diverse, but all of Missoula is diverse in nature and everywhere you go. I think that speaks highly of, again, the city council and the way that things have been kept in this city, that everybody can be who they are and do what they wish in this city, and within the law, I guess. So anyway, I'd just like to speak on behalf of that, and I think, again, having this expansion would do a great deal for the community. It would add, again, homes for people who don't have them, homes for people who are seeking them, and again, the people of Martin's Property Management, I have not witnessed better stewardship of any apartment building, and I've seen almost everyone in this town now in the past 2 years. So I would hope that you would pass this resolution so that they can get busy building and we can get busy putting people into houses. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this evening?
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper Street. I've lived in Missoula since 1971. I think the average people here on City Council have not been here since then. So you don't know what Missoula was like. You, John, you grew up here, and you know what Missoula was like. You and these past councils since Dan Kemmis have ruined this city. You've made it anywhere in the United States of America where buildings go up and people are shoved in them to them like ants in anthills. I went through Portland, Oregon not long ago, and we were caught in gridlock. And to my right, I saw a apartment building that it was at least as big as the one that burned in London. And I thought, we are housing people like cattle. And these people in these apartments, and I'm very thankful for my home, because I know if you would get a hold of it, there would be 2 8-unit apartment buildings on it. You have destroyed Missoula. Since Dan Kemmis, building, 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 and what's coming here. We are not getting people here that love Missoula as we love Missoula that have been here a long time. Your crime rates are excruciating now. Firearms are being stolen. We never had things like that back then. I'm not against progress, but some of these units that you are building are not conditions for families to live in. Families with children, they can't live here. They're being pushed to the outskirts of town and further down the valley in areas like that. Because personally, it's hard to live in Missoula anymore. Everybody calls us a diverse town. Well, our diversity has caused many, many problems. And you all champion that, but you don't look at it. Because you go home to your houses, you take advantage of tax breaks, and you don't see what's going on. People are living like cattle. And if you keep passing these situations, you're going to make Missoula a hellhole.
Anyone else this evening? Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Jeff Smith with WGM Group here representing the Martin family. Just a couple points to add. Thanks for... Can you use a microphone? Is the microphone on?
It is.
Sorry. I just wanted to speak to the parking situation in a little more detail at Wolf Glen. Right now there are 92 existing parking spaces, which is 39 above the zoning requirements. So as far as the parking supply at Wolf Glen goes, they are adequately parked and well served for 17 additional units. We talked about this a little last time. Just to reiterate, the existing residential density in that area designated for medium to high residential is about 4.5 units per acre. And that's in large part because of the commercial, industrial, and institutional uses in that area. So providing workforce housing by approving this rezoning is really important. One, to realize the goals of the growth policy and come maybe closer to that medium to high residential density, but also to provide workforce housing adjacent to these other commercial, industrial, and institutional uses in the neighborhood. Martin family wanted me to add, as a as a result of last week's meeting, they've set up recycling at their operation, working with folks at Waste Management, have that being installed next week. And of course, we talked a lot about the 35% required landscaping last time as well. Wanted to re-interject that, and then just mention briefly some of the infrastructure improvements that have been made recently that serve Wolf Glen, including the Milwaukee Trail, which is directly adjacent to Wolf Glen, provides some mitigation to that traffic. The work that was done on 3rd Street and the Russell Street improvements that are coming. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else this evening? All right, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council? Mr. Wilkins.
So I'm under the impression we can't put any amendments in or anything on this? That, I was told that.
Mary McCrae with Development Services. Yes, this is a straight rezoning from one standard zoning district to another, so you cannot condition it.
All right, thank you.
Mr. DeBari?
Ms. McCrae, would you mind staying? I just wanted to revisit a few items that we talked about last meeting time. Mr. Smith already covered the fact that whatever might be built on this site would still need to adhere to the activity area requirement, and that's correct, correct?
Yes, it's the same standards for landscaping and activity area as the current zoning.
So while it may be
same percentage of the parcel.
Right, okay. So it may be removing area that's now green as in lawn, but when it's all said and done, it will be meeting the zoning requirements in terms of the 35% required area for landscaping and activity area, correct?
Yes.
And also to clarify, the proposed change in zoning would allow up to 17 additional units, but that doesn't mean that 17 additional units would be built, correct?
No, I mean, it's 17, up to 17, you're correct, and the only, it doesn't guarantee 17 because they still have to meet the parking and all the general standards and the landscaping standards. So if they can do that and add additional units and meet all of that, they could add as many units as they can meet the other standards.
And then I wanted to just touch on the Wyoming Street. I can't remember if it was Mr. Harvey who was here last time talking about the width of Wyoming Street, but is the width of the existing Wyoming Street at the collector standard, or what standard is it constructed to?
It's considered a local street at present, although Mr. Harvey, I believe, said it's at a 35-foot width, which is okay for residential. As a collector, it would need to go to 37 feet. However, I'll see if Kevin...
I think that was right.
I believe that's what I have in my notes from Doug.
So right now it's classified as a local street, but the width is 35 feet, which is 2 feet less than if it were built to the collector standard. So it's reasonably
Correct.
close to the collector standard. Okay, thanks. Those are my questions.
Further questions, Ms. Cares?
I guess I wanted to clarify that comment around Wyoming Street width, because I wrote down that at parts of this it goes all the way down to 28 feet, but that it's 32 to 35 feet right next to this parcel.
I believe that's correct. He talked about the property west that has the industrial uses as they have expanded into the right-of-way, and there's no curb and gutter in that area, so once it's improved, but certainly in front of Wolf Glen, I believe it was 35 feet. And I could be wrong on that.
Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, Mr. DeBari?
So I move to adopt an ordinance to rezone Lot 1A of Riverside Edition, lot blocks 21 and 28 in Section 20, Township 13 North, Range 19 West, a platted subdivision in Missoula County, Montana, according to the official record plat thereof, located near the intersection of Wyoming Street and North Catlin Street, from RM 2.7 residential to RM 2 residential.
That motion is in order. Discussion on the motion? Mr. Wilkins?
So I'm not going to support this motion, and I really appreciate what you do for veterans. I'm a combat veteran myself, I lived in Missoula for quite a few years. I came here in '76 after I got out of the Army, born and raised in Great Falls. So that's to contradict some of the things that I was hearing. I really have a problem with the heights, and I know maybe you won't be able to, or you won't build 3 stories, but it's going to allow you to build 3 stories. I have a problem with that cutting off sunlight for people, cutting off view shed for people, and the infill part. I've been fighting infill in Ward 4 for the last 12 years. And every time I win one battle, they start another one. And that's what's been going on. That's what went on with this area. I helped the people fight this area on another one that was going to go like that. And we won that one and got it shut down. You know, you talk about green space, it's going to be 35% or whatever on the green space. Well, great. So you're going to have little kids out there playing in that little area of green space because they're not going to use the trail. You're not going to let your 8, 9, or 10-year-old go down to a trail and find another green space. He's going to have to stay right there where you can keep an eye on him. That's what raising a family in a Missoula is all about. So there is no way I can say, yeah, let's do this and allow somebody to put that much infill in that little area. And the streets, I don't care if they're 35 foot wide, you go down those streets and people are parking everywhere. Wyoming Street is really hard to get through on there. There's been numerous accidents. You can check with the police station on that. The streets are inadequate to have a big infill project like that. And so I just can't support it.
Ms. Marlowe?
I have a different position on this, but I always appreciate hearing from Mr. Wilkins. This project is in my ward, mine and Ms. Kerr's ward. It's in a neighborhood that is on one of my running and biking routes near the bike trail, so I'm pretty familiar with it. I also remember when we had those guys who make the yurts, who are now located not very far away from this project, when they came in for a rezone request, and we heard a lot of dire predictions about what would happen if we approved their rezoning request, that it would ruin the neighborhood, et cetera. And now we're hearing that the yurt guys are a great part of the fabric of the community over there. So things do change, and sometimes it's hard to see the change while it's in process, but contrasting with John on this in a friendly way, I've been supporting infill and infrastructure for 12 years on City Council, and I think that this is a good project. I would not characterize this as a giant infill project or a big apartment complex. It's a delightful apartment complex in an eclectic and diverse neighborhood. I agree with a lot of things that our speakers, Mr. Walter Kirshen and Mr. Chamberlain, said about the neighborhood. It's diverse and eclectic. It has single-family houses, condos, apartments. There's people making zombie tools. There's like a high-end butcher shop over there. My friend has an artist studio. So there's a lot happening. Gosh, I think the governor was over there today in the River Road neighborhood signing a bill about microbreweries or something. There's a lot happening, and any more people like to live in these, some people like to live in these diverse neighborhoods, diverse of uses, where you can walk or bike or get on transit to go, because not everybody has 8-year-old kids. Not everybody is the same. There are different types of housing needs. We have a housing crisis in Missoula. I disagree with the dire predictions of adding up to 17 apartment buildings in this area that's on a very well maintained project. I really like your project. I mentioned last time, I haven't seen the project drawings. I mean, the existing apartment buildings are lovely and well taken care of. We need places for veterans, for people without kids, for single people. Some people don't like having a yard. I know it sounds crazy for some people, but there are people who just do not want to have a yard. I feel strongly that we can support infill in Missoula while also stepping up our improvements to infrastructure. I absolutely agree that this area needs more sidewalks. I'm like a broken record on that item. We need curbs, drainage, lights. We need more streets to connect through, and I've been looking at the county plat maps quite a bit to see the ownership in the area, and some of the land that, you know, that could help make a big difference on street connection is owned by folks who have been weighing in on this project, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity to collaborate on making the infrastructure better, and then people can continue to use their property the way that they like. Let's see, it's a pretty small increase in units in a well cared for apartment complex. I said that. And I am gonna vote for this. I agree, I appreciate that there's a diversity of opinions. And without going too far afield of the motion at hand, I strongly agree that we need a master infrastructure plan for the River Road neighborhood, but that's for a different committee meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. I'm going to vote in favor of this also, and I wanted to state that I spent a lot of time thinking about this over the last 10 days since it was presented to us in preparation for tonight. And what I came down to is that we have a growth policy that had a lot of public input and was approved by council, that has a focus inward policy that says we should have more density instead of sprawling. And we also have an affordable housing crisis that is evolving and unfolding in Missoula. That is very, it's here, and it's probably going to get worse unless we take action and start doing something. So when we're analyzing this kind of rezoning, we're within this structure already, and we approved this RM2 zoning application months ago and created another tool to use, which is great, but now we're having a real application. And I totally appreciate the public comment that has been made regarding having development in a neighborhood that is compatible, that in other words, I think all of City Council knows this is incumbent on ourselves. If we're going to be creating more density, we need to now effectuate the growth policy. We need to give some guidance to the community how this is going to be done, so there's some predictability, so people can know what to expect, and there will be change, but it's not just jamming something in. So I think everyone on council knows this is incumbent on ourselves to create that policy, and it'll take months, if not more, years of work. But that's what this discussion means to me, is we need to now figure out the next step. How do we make this work? But in the meantime, we have these tools and we have this structure, and we're lucky. We have great owners of an apartment complex who take care of it and provide some great housing. And 17 units to me is a lot of housing to add in. I too hope it is done in a compatible way, and it doesn't look like, oh, that went in later, and boy, it doesn't match anything. I hope it works, and in the meantime, it's on us to figure out how to create those rules so that it works. So I guess I'm focused on how do we wrap into this discussion of affordable housing and higher density compatibility and quality of life, and make sure that those values are also addressed. We're going to have change. Missoula is growing. Missoula is changing. Do we control it, or do we just let it happen and look at it and say, oh, we never thought that would happen? So I'm in favor of this. I hope it turns into a good development. I appreciate what a well-run place it is, and I think at this point in time, this is where we're at, so we need to go forward with it.
Ms. West?
So I've been really struggling with this one, especially because I care a lot about affordable housing, but I am not going to support this, and I think the current density falls within the range that is described for that area in our growth policy already, and I do think that my husband's truck is broken down right now, so I've been driving him to work every day for the last couple of weeks, and he works on 3rd Street at a tree company. Anyway, so I've been driving through this area, and I think that waiting for the infrastructure to come in potentially 5 to 10 years isn't a good policy necessarily. And I also don't see increasing density automatically resulting in an affordable housing or workforce housing necessarily. And I think that because we can't condition rezones, I'm not comfortable with that assumption. And I was just doing some like back of the napkin letter envelope calculations, and I just wanted to point out that when we talk about workforce housing as a general term, like it doesn't really mean very much necessarily. So a 1-bedroom apartment at this complex costs more than my house does a month on my mortgage. And assuming that someone works 4 weeks per month, 40 hours a week, and spends 30% of their income on rent, they would have to make $12.46 an hour, and then it goes up from there. So I think that doesn't jive with other things that come up in our committee meetings. And for example, Judge Jenks recently resisted the idea of compensating folks for their community service hours at a rate of $15 an hour, because she was saying that the folks she works with go back to jobs that pay less than $10 an hour. And so I think we, I don't know where I'm going with that, but that doesn't jive with, like somehow that conflicts for me. So I'm not going to support this. Maybe in the future I would, but I think it already falls in line with what we have in our growth policy, and I don't really see a strong reason to change it. So,
Ms. Karras?
Rezone requests come before us because they are not allowed by right. And so after much deliberation, I will vote no today because it is my belief that additional density at this site is not very well suited, primarily but not exclusively because of on-the-ground realities of Wyoming Street and the loss of the activity area. Other valid considerations are, as Mr. Neidick mentioned in his red comments, River Road is lacking in public transportation, through streets, sidewalks, nearby parks, lighting, and an adequate mix of services to the population. As Mr. Chamberlain said, these concerns are not shared just by the 3 folks who shared their thoughts today. If you think of this neighborhood and the longest streets within are along it, 3rd, Russell, Reserve, River, Wyoming, Curtis, Davis, Catlin. If you had your choice between those 7 streets, I don't think that you would select the narrowest portion of Wyoming for a 17-unit building. Because of those things and more, I will vote no tonight.
Ms. Bentley?
I'm going to support this project. I actually used to live in these apartments when I was in college. And it was a really nice place to live and really, really well kept. But one of the things that was always frustrating for me was that we had all this green space that nobody had access to. I actually think this increases access to the green space. The way that it is now, you don't even know that it's the yard for that apartment building because it's tucked behind, and you sort of feel like you're on someone else's property when you go back there. So this will add more doors onto that space and create and make it, hopefully make it lively and vibrant and a place where kids can run around and be, rather than, in my opinion, totally wasted space right now.
Ms. Armstrong?
So I support this, and to say it plainly, this is a well-run apartment complex that's adding a modest increase. We have a business person who's willing to make an investment in Missoula without our assistance, which is great. You can get a 1-bedroom apartment for $665 with all utilities paid. There aren't a lot of places in town you can do that, and you can get a 3-bedroom for under $1,000. And I think that every economic survey we have, half the emails I get and phone calls are people saying we need more affordable housing, and I don't think that we should say no to this, because that's what it's providing.
Mr. DeBar?
First, I want to thank Mr. Chamberlain and Mr. Walter Skirchin. Hopefully I got your name reasonably well. And Ms. Jenkins, too, for your comments. I think, as Ms. Matthew Jenkins pointed out, Missoula is transitioning. I moved to Missoula in the late 80s, and Dan Kemmis was mayor at the time, and we are a city in transition, and I guess I use the word city intentionally. Missoula is transitioning from being sort of a large, small town kind of place to a more urban environment, and the amount of time and effort that we've been putting into our zoning ordinance and our growth policy is expressly designed to not make Missoula a hellhole. It's to create as rich and inviting environment as we can as we make this important transition. And so I think if we're ever going to actualize the growth policy that we spent 2 years creating and that I wholeheartedly support, we're going to have to start making decisions about what properties we rezone to slightly higher densities. And I think one of the interests in creating the RM 2.7 zone that a lot of this area was to acknowledge the mix of uses that exist in that neighborhood. It allows residential and other existing uses in a way that, as the folks who spoke this evening mentioned, really work for this neighborhood. And I think that taking into consideration some select properties in this neighborhood and rezoning them to RM2 is going to enhance that diversity, and I think it's wholly appropriate if we're ever going to make the goals that we set for ourselves in terms of the growth policy actually happen. So I think that it's a modest increase in density. I think it provides the opportunity for different kinds of building type, a slightly higher building, as other people have pointed out, but I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. I mean, we will not actualize our intentions with the growth policy by continuing to build 1- and 2-story buildings. It's just not going to happen. And so in order to provide the tools, as Ms. Jones said, to actualize our growth policy, we created the RM2 zoning district not that long ago, and I think it's a valuable zoning district to use in particular locations, and I think this is one of them. So I am going to support this motion, and again, I just really want to thank the folks who made their comments. I know that they're passionate about their neighborhood, and I appreciate them taking their time to come and speak to us.
Mr. Hess.
Thanks. I'm not going to add a lot. Most of what I view on this has already been expressed, so I'll just echo Mr. DeBari and Ms. Marler briefly that in support of this as well. We absolutely need an infrastructure plan in this neighborhood, and that's a separate issue. That's something that should occur under a parallel track. But I think that this RM2 zoning designation is an excellent way to realize some of the objectives of our growth policy. And it doesn't mean that we can't maintain a quirky, diverse, inclusive, and great neighborhood. I hope that this enhances the neighborhood, and I look forward to that.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
We'll start with DeBari. Yes. DeBari votes yes. Hedall? Yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess? Yes. Hess votes yes. Jones? Yes. Jones votes yes. Marler? Yes. Marler votes yes. West? No. West votes no. Wilkins? No. Wilkins votes no. Armstrong? Yes. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley? Yes. Bentley votes yes. Cares? No. Cares votes no. We have 7 ayes and 3 noes.
And the rezoning is approved. We have no additional public hearings this evening. I will pass on communication from the mayor, and we'll begin general comments from council with Ms. Hedall. Mr. DeBari.
I just want to congratulate all of the finishers of the numerous running events.
Folks, our meeting is still in order. If you want to have a conversation, please go out in the hall and close the doors behind you. Appreciate that. Mr. Barry?
Congratulate all the finishers of the numerous races that were held this weekend, and congratulate the organizers and the sponsors, or thank the sponsors for the wonderful job that they did for the Missoula Marathon. It's a fabulous community activity, and I find it always very empowering and inspiring to watch those folks out there running.
Ms. Marler?
Thanks, Mr. DeBari. You stole my thunder. I even wore my shirt because I'm so excited every year when we have the oh, I'm sorry. Can everyone hear me when I'm talking? Thank you. It's a great event. It brings the whole community together, and then thousands of people from out of town and out of state. And congratulations, everyone who did it, and thank you, everyone who put out sprinklers and cheered in your front yards. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. I also have a kind of committee of the whole thing to deal with in terms of committee appointments for our external committees. We all serve on a bunch of boards and committees throughout town, and Ms. Jones and Ms. Armstrong would like to switch two of their committee appointments. So Julie Armstrong will now be the appointee to our Neighborhood Grants Committee, and Gwen Jones will now be our appointee to the Missoula Aging Services Board. And I'm going to just let you guys follow up with staff to make that happen, but I have to say it out loud to be official. And I had one other thing, and I forgot what it is. Thanks.
Ms. Armstrong?
So we've had some correspondence from citizens who've had or perceive that they have trouble with the new water system, and I just want to say that if you'll simply go to the city website and type in water, it will take you to the website and give you all to the links for online payment, which is exact same way you did it before. And I hear from our staff that the online account history is coming soon, probably within the next 30 to 60 days. So there's really not a big change, and you all should have gotten your new water bills today in the mail.
Mr. Wilkins?
So I want to talk a little bit about trees, especially the courthouse trees. They're gone. Why are they gone? Because they were getting old, we were told. Because they were non-native species, we were told. All over Missoula, trees are getting cut down. And I granted some of them are old. I granted a lot of them are non-native species. But when I look around this room, there's a lot of non-native species sitting here. And we're not cutting them down. So, I don't know, it's getting kind of disturbing what I'm seeing. And I wish they would kind of temper that a little bit.
Ms. Karas?
I'll talk about the marathon too. We welcomed people from Utah, Michigan, and Washington all for that event, and it was a really good time. We also went to the rodeo in Drummond, and I will just give them props for a nice event also.
Mr. Hess? Ms. Jones?
I just wanted to say that I am loving having the pianos downtown, and every time I come downtown, I hear music from somewhere, and I look around, and someone different is playing the pianos, and I feel like I'm in a musical walking around, and it's just, and people from all walks of life are sitting and using those pianos. So it's kind of a little magical thing going on in the midst of all of the problems that we're always addressing. So I love the idea, and I'm wondering if we can get some out at the mall during the winter time where they don't pipe in music. Because I love having this background music as you walk around and attend to business.
Ms. West?
So I'm going to take this moment for some some selfish self-promotion. So my husband and I helped put on the Missoula Outdoor Cinema, and our first showing of the movie Stand By Me was on Saturday, and it was awesome. But if you didn't make it, the next movie is this Saturday, and it's The Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D. So I have 300 pairs of 3D glasses at my house. So I hope I have at least no more than 300 bodies, because then I'll feel bad, but at least 300 bodies to fill those glasses. So thanks. It's at the Whittier School on the north side, Saturdays.
Ms. Bentley?
I've been using my comments time to talk about stuff happening at the fairgrounds, and I wanted to thank the amazing staff out there for throwing an incredible 4th of July event that went off really well, and Southgate Mall for continuing to sponsor the fireworks. The city band did a great job, and Missoula Skate Club had roller skating, so that was pretty awesome, and hopefully it's a tradition that we can continue. Also, the city fire department and police department were wonderful to work with, so it was nice to see that from the other side. Coming up, we have we had the outdoor expedition this weekend, as was mentioned before, last weekend, as was mentioned before. And actually, we're switching gears to get ready for the fair. So we have the horse show coming up at the end of July, and the Western Montana Fair, just mark your calendars, starts on Tuesday, August 8th, and goes till Sunday, August 13th. So getting ready for that, and lots of private events between now and then, but it's exciting, and free admission this year. Woohoo!
We'll move on to our committee reports. Items listed under committee reports weren't approved unanimously in council committees. And, pardon me, the chairperson of that committee will make a motion reflecting the committee's action. We'll invite comment on each of these. We have one from our consent agenda. That was item number 5. Mr. Hess?
Thank you. I move we adopt a resolution vacating the westerly 5 feet of the northerly 118 feet of the public road easement across a portion of Lot 5, Block 3 of Cook's Addition, and the public road easement across portions of lots 5 through 8, Block 2 of Cook's Addition, as shown in Exhibit 2, subject to the one condition of approval.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on the motion? Seeing none of that, we'll have a roll call vote.
On the motion, Marlar. Yes. Marlar votes yes. West. West votes yes. Wilkins?
Yes.
Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong? Yes. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley? Bentley votes yes. Cares? Yes. Cares votes yes. Dabari? Yes. Dabari votes yes. Hedall? Yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess? Yes. Hess votes yes. Jones? Yes. Jones votes yes. That's 10 ayes.
And the motion is approved. We have no additional committee reports. We've got no new business. Are there any additional items to be referred this evening? Seeing none, any miscellaneous communications, petitions, reports, or announcements? Seeing none of those, as always, I thank you for your service, and we will be adjourned.